Did you know many killers have no remorse for their crimes in court? Today, we're going to be talking about killers who were unapologetic in court. These people showed no remorse for their crimes and even bragged about them. It's a disturbing but fascinating look into the minds of these criminals. Number 1. Ted Bundy. One of the most famous examples of an unapologetic killer is Ted Bundy. Bundy was a serial killer who confessed to killing over 30 women.
Lisa Levy. My chance to talk to the press.
Contrary to Section 78204 Florida statute.
I'll plead not guilty right now.
And your grant.
But he never showed any remorse for his crimes. He even seemed to enjoy talking about them. During his trial, he often smiled and made jokes and even tried to flirt with the female jurors. Bundy was a handsome, charismatic man who used his good looks to lure young women to their deaths. He was convicted of killing at least 30 women, but the actual number of his victims is likely much higher. Bundy was also unapologetic in court and never showed any remorse for his crimes and even went so far as to taunt his victims' families. Ted Bundy was born in Burlington, Vermont in 1946. His parents were never married, and his mother could not care for him, so he was raised by his grandparents. He was known for his temper tantrums and his cruelty to animals. As a teenager, Bundy began to show signs of sexual deviancy and was arrested for burglary and theft, and he was also accused of rape. Despite his criminal record, Bundy was able to attend college. He graduated from the University of Puget Sound with a degree in psychology. After college, Bundy moved to Utah, where he worked as a law student. He was also active in politics and volunteered for the Republican Party. Ted Bundy was a master of disguise, often changing his appearance to avoid capture. His crimes were so horrific that they inspired several books, movies, and documentaries. He would often target college students, and he would often break into their apartments at night. Moreover, he would often strangle his victims to death and then sexually assault their bodies. In 1974, Bundy's first victim was found. She was a young woman who had been strangled to death. He was eventually arrested and charged with her murder, but a jury acquitted him. Bundy continued to kill, and his victims became increasingly young women. He would often break into their homes at night and attack them while sleeping. In 1975, Bundy was arrested again, this time for the kidnapping of a young woman, and was convicted and sentenced to 15 years in prison. He escaped from prison in 1977 and went on a killing spree across the country. He was eventually captured again in 1978 and sentenced to death. Bundy was executed by an electric chair in 1989 when he was 42. Ted Bundy was a monster, but he was also a human being. He was born with a dark side, but he also had the potential to be good. Number 2. Eileen Wuornos. Wuornos was a serial killer who killed 7 men in Florida in the 1980s. She was a prostitute who claimed that she killed her victims in self-defense.
They weren't cut up, they weren't sliced up, no OJ jazz, And he said, I did the most horrendous crime in the whole wide world.
However, she showed no remorse for her crimes in court and even laughed at times. Eileen Wuornos was born in Rochester, Michigan on February 29, 1956. She had a difficult childhood. Her mother and grandparents abused her. She dropped out of school at a young age and began working as a prostitute. In 1989, Wuornos met a man named Richard Mallory. Mallory, a wealthy businessman, offered Wuornos a ride in his car. Wuornos claimed that Mallory raped and beat her, and she shot him in self-defense. Wuornos went on to kill 6 more men in the following months and claimed that all of her victims had raped or attempted to rape her.
Forgiveness. I am sorry that my acts of self-defense ended up in court like this, but I take full responsibility for my actions.
However, the evidence against her was overwhelming, and she was eventually convicted of all 7 murders. Wuornos' trial was a media circus, and she became a national celebrity. Some portrayed her as a victim of abuse, while others saw her as a monster. In the end, she was sentenced to death and executed by lethal injection in 2002. Eileen Wuornos was a complex and tragic figure and a victim of abuse, but was also a killer. Her story is a reminder of the dark side of human nature and raises questions about the nature of good and evil. Moreover, she was a heavy smoker and drinker with a history of mental illness. Wuornos' victims were all men, and they were all found dead in their cars. Wuornos was arrested in 1990, and she confessed to all 7 murders. I hope you enjoyed the content, and if so, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Moreover, your feedback matters, so please share your valuable thoughts in the comments. See you and have a great day!